Merry Christmas. When I was a camp counselor, we would have children come who were used to going to school and playing on the playground, but they were most certainly not used to tramping around camp for miles on end. So when we said to the kids, all right, it's time to walk to the lake, we would get moans and groans and complaints. You can imagine that trying to encourage children down the trails over and over again became a rather tedious task for a camp counselor. The kids would have to walk maybe 3/4 of the mile down to the lake, 3/4 of the mile back up the mountains. And so I found that there was only one thing that helped these kids to be able to walk and to enjoy it. We tried playing games, we tried playing I Spy, but the only thing I found that truly worked was singing. We would sing. The first couple of times, the first couple of days, you'd have to start the song, and we'd get them going. After day 1 or day 2, the kids would just spontaneously, anytime we started off walking, they would start singing. They would sing campfire songs, but especially they would sing songs about church. They would sing songs about Jesus. And I loved when every once in a while we would be hiking up the hill and one of the kids would just start singing, "Go tell it on the mountain." Inevitably, it always came up. You're hiking the mountains, you sing "Go tell it on the mountain." And here in the middle of a very hot, humid July summer day in Virginia, kids would be singing this joyous Christmas hymn that we started off with today. Singing tends to make life easier. I don't know if you've noticed, but if you're in the kitchen washing the dishes and you tell Alexa or you turn on your cell phone, put on some music, it just makes the time go by faster. My husband, I'm someone who, if I'm really getting down to working on a sermon, I can't have any noise around. But my husband really needs music to focus. Music changes who we are. It changes how we interact with the world. It can change our whole mood. Even commercial retail places know this, right? They put on certain songs so that when we go in, we feel in a jolly mood to buy their products. But it also changes our mood for praising God. That's why we chose to read this psalm this morning. Sing to the Lord a new song, for he has done marvelous things. What an encouragement at Christmas. Sing to the Lord a new song, for he has done marvelous things. One of the things, and I almost hesitate to mention this because my dad's sitting here in the pews, but one of the things that I love about my dad so much is that he is a terrible singer. And yet, at our home congregation, being an assistant minister meant singing. And so, by golly, every time he was signed up to be the assistant minister, he got up and he sang to the Lord. And every time it was a new song, because nobody had put those notes together in exactly that right order. And I got a little bit of that from my dad, that I'm not always exactly naturally the best singer. I was told as a child that I couldn't carry a tune in a bucket. But then someone told me to come up and to sing a verse of "Go Tell It on the Mountain" in one of our children's Christmas pageants. We can encourage each other and we can learn to sing. And in fact, as Christians, we're almost commanded to sing. I know that some of us feel like we're not very good at it, but my dad has said, if I get somebody who's a strong singer like my mom and I just kind of shoulder up to him and stand next to him and listen real close, I can sing too. It's part of the praise that we give to God each and every Sunday. That's why our liturgy is so formed around singing. Can you imagine a worship service here at Good Shepherd without any music? It's not because we think it sounds good or because Peter is a fabulous musician, though he is marvelous, but it's because God invites us into that singing. God invites us into that praise, and it's almost a new creation each and every time we sing. Another thing that I love about singing is that singing forces us to breathe in a different kind of way. When we sing, we're forced to stop and take a breath at those places that sometimes aren't necessarily even natural for us to breathe. But if you notice, when you're singing, all of a sudden you're breathing in rhythm with the person next to you in the pew. It gives us a different kind of communion so that all of a sudden we're in sync and we're sent out into the world to do not the things that we necessarily thought we were called to do when we walked into the door of the church, but to do the things that God has called us through the Word, through the singing, through the new inspiration God has given us. One of the things that I love to do at Christmas is to read Luther's Christmas book, which is a little anthology of Luther's sermons that was put together by a man named Bainton. And he talks about how Luther talks about the Nativity in three different ways: in sermon, in song, and in art. And when he's talking about song, he says, Luther composed in all 5 carols, 2 of which he translates new in this book. The opening stanza of one of them appears within the border of one of Luther's prints that he worked with an artist, Cranach, in his town. They put the words of the hymn right around the outside. And he says, "From highest heaven is the most childlike hymn of all. It was almost certainly composed for Luther's own children. It was first published in 1535 and may have been written the previous Christmas when Hans was 8 and Lenchen was 5. The carol is designed as a Christmas children's pageant in the church. Before the altar is placed a cradle with the babe. On either side kneel Mary and Joseph. From the choir, a chorister takes the part of the angel and makes the announcement in song. From highest heaven to earth I come. I bring great tidings of great mirth." God has given us a new song this Christmas. Whether you can't carry a tune in a bucket or whether you are the strongest singer, whether it is literal or metaphorical, go out and sing God's new song. Amen. And let's sing some songs.